Luxury Staffing, the podcast by Morgan and Mallet. What domestic staff really cost in 2026. A global pay guide for families.
Hello there, Morgan and Mallet podcast listeners. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the global standards regarding pay, the cost of domestic talent. And to guide us through all this is the co-founder of Morgan Mallet. He's called Morgan Richez. And welcome to the podcast, Morgan. How are you doing today?
Yes, hello, Benjamin. Nice to talk to you and to talk over this podcast today. Yes, I am Morgan Richez. I am the co-founder of Morgan Mallet, and I will be happy to answer every single question.
Excellent. Okay, good stuff. So, how did you get started in this industry, Morgan? Can you tell us a bit about yourself, please?
Yeah, good question. Basically, I was a butler. I did chauffeur as well in London. So we need to come back 15 years ago, and I moved to London to learn English, as a French, I didn't speak English at this time. So that's why I get there to improve. And I did the job of chauffeur and butler for ultra high net worth. So this is the first experience I get, to work in this very nice industry. And in 2015, I decided to set up the company with Lauren, as you know, Morgan Mallet International.
Super, super. I'll just add a little anecdote for the listeners that Morgan did have some experience with ultra high-end clients with his previous business with his brother that was renting out luxury cars. And
Yes.
that ended when the Bentley, how did that end?
Basically, it ends with a bad story. My job exactly was to rent a luxury car in Paris. By the way, it was a really good job. And the last client stole the Bentley. Basically, it was a scammer, and I lost a lot of money. So it was a bad experience, but in another hand, it was a very good entrepreneurial experience as well. Sometimes you got bad luck, and this is the way how you improve as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good stuff. Okay, so let's jump into today's topic, talking about pay, global standards, domestic talent. So, what are the biggest factors, Morgan, influencing pay across different countries in domestic service in 2026?
But it's a big assurance, of course, the salary needs to reach the market is really important because what's happened on the market, we got every single day a lot of requests from US, from UK, from Europe and Middle East, but there is less and less candidate. The new generation doesn't want to do this job anymore. And now it's very difficult to find people with experience, talents, flexibility, and that's why the salary are very important. I used to say to my client, it's very important, to reach the salary market in order to attract the best talent. This is the only way to make sure that you have the best household staff, especially to run your household.
Yeah, yeah. I remember in previous calls, you've mentioned like you do not want to save money or economize with this because this is your personal life and this is like one of the biggest factors in your life. To economize is crazy because this is your personal life, your home basically, and especially with children as well. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
used to say to my clients, we're talking about your comfort, your lifestyle. So this is one of the most important recruitment, better than your company if you run a big company. I
Yeah.
think this is more important to make a very good recruitment for your nanny, for your household housekeeper, for your house manager, whatever, because this is the people who will take care of your life and your families.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right. Morgan, I'm gonna have to ask Irfan to edit this out, but is there a way you could turn down the volume on your microphone because it's topping out
Yes.
and it's going a bit fuzzy? If
Now
you
it's
could,
okay.
I think so. If you could just turn it like to medium, I think that'd
Yeah.
work best. If you can turn the volume, there might be a setting on the microphone.
Yes. Let me check. Mic.
On the microphone hardware, on the actual device, is there a setting that could be worth
Yes,
looking at?
exactly. I am on it.
Okay.
Is that better now?
I think so. Yeah. I hope so. Yeah.
I think this is I reduced to 20%, 10,
Okay.
20%. Yes.
Okay. That'll be good. All right then.
Super.
Okay. So I'll do 3, 2, 1. So moving on to the next question. How much did local labor laws and compliance costs? How do these costs shape domestic staff salaries? Do they have a big impact?
If we're talking about the European market, yes, a lot, especially for the France. Yeah, it is very expensive tax, as you know, and the compliance are so important and very, I would say, complicated. And that's why, we advise our clients from US or Middle East when they come to France, when they own a second property or a holiday home, they really need to talk to a lawyer or even to a recruiter to explain how it works, because sometimes your calculation can be wrong. First of all, it can cost a lot of money. You can say, "Oh, I will pay this house manager 5 or 6,000 euros net," but the some client didn't calculate how much it's going to cost to them. So it's a big impact for them. And
Yeah.
regarding the compliance as well is so important, because the regulation about the contract, about to terminate someone is very strict laws in France. So that's why it's very important to discuss about those matters before to start a recruitment.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And is there a clear link between training standards, qualifications, and pay levels internationally?
Yes, exactly. There is a bigger link and it's completely connected, of course. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And would you say, like, and what about regional? Because I think salaries are usually higher in the US, right?
Yeah, exactly. The market in US, this is I would say this is the best opportunity for domestic workers because the salary are so high. After, it's very important to understand that the life is expensive as well in US, especially, for example, if you live in New York and you get a job in Manhattan or even in the Hamptons, the life can be very costly. But of course, the salary are so high in US. This is the first market with the higher salary in the world. Switzerland is a really good market as well if you want to get a really good salary. And of course, some region like Middle East, like Iraq, or this is exactly it's not the right time, for to apply for this in this region. That the salary are so high because the clients, they knows that they need to attract the candidate, and the only way is to offer a very good condition.
Interesting. I see. And are you seeing salaries increase across the market at the moment?
Yes, you can see for some position, for example, for the nanny position, for the housekeeper position, and for the domestic couple position, we've got a very big increase for the last 2 or 3 years. Because again, there is less and less candidate and less experienced candidate, So and there is a lot of competition, There is more and more wealthy people in this world.
I see. So the competition is coming from the clients between themselves rather than the
Exactly.
candidates.
Yes.
Interesting. And I know from previous calls as well, like one of the important roles that the recruiter has in Morgan and Mallet is to advise and to set clear expectations uh, for the recruiter, but to the recruiter to set clear expectations for the client and just not educate, but guide them on what the market reality is at the
Exactly.
moment.
And I
Yeah.
think this is plenty the role of an agency or a recruiter. And this is the value as well from the company. We are here to advise the clients. And I used to say to my team, guys, it's very important, to advise the clients. And if you think that the recruitment it's almost impossible or doesn't fit the reality about the salary expectation, the request, even the organization, it's better to refuse sometimes the mission because I don't want to send a candidate to a bad job or to find a candidate who stay only 6 months, So we are completely responsible, as a recruiter, as an agency, to advise the client and to guide them in the right way in order to keep their household staff for a very long period. And to,
Mm.
of course, to get the right people and the right talent as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And do cultural attitudes towards private service still explain major pay gaps between the different regions?
Um, I think the localization is more about, it's not about the culture, it's more about the localization, For
Yeah.
example, we got some localization very attractive, like Monaco, Miami, or Los Angeles, or even Dubai. It was very attractive. It's going to be attractive again, I'm pretty sure, after the war. But it's more about the localization, but not about the culture, because of course the people would like to live in a good place with a good condition. But when it comes to a countryside localization or even a country in the middle of nowhere, the candidate, the lifestyle is important for the candidate as well. Money doesn't do everything. It's
Yeah.
important for
I see. So just to summarize, it's less it's less about the culture and it's more about other factors such as the location more
exactly.
than anything. Yeah, I
Yes.
see. I see.
Mm.
Okay. And we kind of covered this already, but which countries or markets currently offer the most competitive pay packages? And why do you
I
think
would
that is?
say US for sure, Switzerland as well. And we've got some very good opportunities sometimes in Saudi Arabia,
Yeah.
very attractive in Riyadh or Jeddah as well. So this is the best place, for that.
And I guess the US and Switzerland, the salaries are so high because they have to be because of the living costs, the competition between the clients. And in Saudi, they have to be high to attract the right talents, right?
Exactly. You got
Yeah.
the right answer. I'm going to give you just an example about Switzerland. The life in Switzerland are so expensive, the insurance as well. So that's why, for housekeeper, you should pay at least 6,000 francs Swiss to get a good housekeeper, which is a really good salary for European candidates.
Absolutely. 6,000 euros, are we talking?
Yeah, francs Swiss, because this is not the same currency.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. And just going back to the regions, which regions do you see as sort of like where the highest demand is at the moment? Would you say the US?
Before the war, it was Dubai. Dubai, it was incredibly busy market, it was so fast, and we were very surprised with Morgan Mallet regarding the market. But now it's US for sure at this
Yeah.
time. But yes, as soon as Dubai will come back, I'm pretty sure it's going to be busy like before. But yes, Middle East, I think this is the future, for domestic workers. And US, it's always a very good market. But US, it's not easy for people outside the country to come in US, because they are very strict about the immigration. So the opportunity is unfortunately very open for the people based in US already, American citizen or green card owner.
I see. Is that causing some complications for Morgan and Malley? Like, say, an international principal wants to bring his household staff over to Miami from France or from the UK. Is it complicated?
It's not complicated if you got the money and if you got a good attorney, you can do that. But US is very simple. You need to prioritize the American citizen and you need to have a clear explanation why you use this way, to bring people from overseas. But if you have a very clear explanation, a good attorney and enough money to do that, you are able to do that. So it's not complicated, but it's costly, I would say.
Right. Interesting. Is it a challenge finding the right staff in the US market, or is there a lot of candidates for those positions?
Of course, it depends the position. If we're
Yeah.
talking about PA position, chauffeur position, estate manager position, we've got a very strong database. We've got so many applicants, which is good. As a recruiter, we've got the choice to find the right candidate. After the difficulty comes when it comes to a localization again. If we're talking about Miami, that's fine. If we're talking about in middle of US, this is another story. And the most difficult part is when it comes to housekeeper, nanny again, and domestic cooper. This kind of position needs to be very attractive in order to get application.
I see. And I'm going off script here, but what do you do when you are struggling to find a client for those positions?
What we use today, we need to activate the network. We need to do like a hunting services. So we are going to hunt the candidate. We are going to search on LinkedIn, estatejob.com, a different platform, and we are going to try to reach some candidate and to say, okay, we got a new opportunity for you. Maybe it can be a good next step for you. So the recruiter needs to be very active, basically, to search.
I see. So it switches from the candidate coming to Morgan and Malley because they saw an advert or a
Yes.
position to actively reaching out to candidates in those positions and as you said, activating the network. Interesting.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. And Are there regions where top professionals remain undervalued despite the high demand?
When you say undervalue, what you mean exactly?
Let's say, like, maybe they're not getting the pay that they could do in other areas, in other locations.
But if we're talking about, I'm going to talk about the French market. Sometimes, the clients in France, they offer a very small salary, and they are on the countryside again. Not countryside, but smaller cities, like Lyon, Bordeaux, these kind of cities, and they offer a very low salary. So our job is to explain that the localization doesn't own a big pool of candidates. So we need to bring people from Paris or even from Monaco or south of France to their location. And in order to do that, of course, you need to pay the same level like those localization, and you need to be attractive as well.
I
So
see. I
we are really
see.
clear from the beginning with the lead.
I see. And I guess in those situations, Bordeaux, Lyon, the placement process the whole time, I guess it takes a little bit longer because you're looking for people who are outside of the city, who live elsewhere.
Yeah, sometimes you are right. It could. Hopefully, Morgan Mallet, we are the first agency. We have a very strong visibility. So I guess for the domestic worker or the people who work in this industry, they know Morgan Mallet. So we've got some application anyway. Of course, we are going to get less volume, but we still have some application. So,
See.
but this is 12 years work, basically.
Gotcha. See. Okay. Moving on to the next one. Has global mobility, like families and staff relocating across borders, has that reduced or increased salaries?
Increase, of course, because if you ask your staff to move, for example, we got many cases, for a nanny position, we ask for a traveling nanny or even traveling PA. Of course, if you need to travel between Paris, New York, Riyadh, or Miami, of course, you need to increase because you pay for the flexibility, and the life, I mean, the private life for the domestic workers is going to be reduced. The flexibility, you need to pay for the flexibility. It's so important, and of course, we ask for a better salary in this case.
I see. I see. Yeah, that makes sense. And what challenges do ultra high net worth clients face in maintaining fairness or consistency across different locations?
Mm. I think it's very important to award the staff when they are there for a long time. So the challenge for ultra high net worth is to make sure that the domestic workers are happy. First of all, you need to sense them. You need to maybe give a tips. It's very important to tips your staff, especially when they make extra hours, when it's a busy summer, for example. It's very important to do that. And maybe to, for example, I've got many examples, when the people, they start as a butler in the family and they became a house manager after a few years, It's like a company, you need to grow in the family. And if you understand that as a client, as an employer, you can keep your staff for 5, 10 years, sometimes 15 years.
I see. So it's a case of like recognizing them and giving them opportunity to grow and rewarding when they go above and beyond, basically.
Exactly. This is the key.
Good stuff. Okay. Looking ahead, how might economic shifts or AI automation reshape domestic pay and in, let's say by 2030?
Yeah, good question. I was thinking a lot about, the EA, because, my question was if this new way to work is going to affect our industry, But after many questions, and even discussion with different people in this industry, mostly I understood we are very protected, all the manual business, all the manual workers is going to be protected by this EA. And so I don't see any trouble for the domestic workers, but what I can see for the PA position is going to be so helpful for them. So it means, in order to organize the planning, to book some restaurant or to book some flight. So I see that like a very good opportunity for them to be more efficient. I think this is
Exactly.
a good thing for them, But for the rest of the household staff, I think this system won't affect them too much. It's not risky for them. Maybe it's going to be a good thing for them, in order, to manage a property. About, if you're talking about budget, if you're talking about organization planning, it's going to be an extra help. But yeah, this is the way how I see that.
Interesting. Yeah. And I kind of know the answer, but I want to ask it anyway. But the domestic staff, in your opinion, seem pretty safe. What about your recruiters?
Recruiter, the same, it's a good question. And of course, as a co-founder of Morgan Mallet, it was my first question. But we are in the luxury industry. And I think, of course, today we use EA, for the ATS, we've got a candidate ATS, we've got some EA. Even, to discuss by email, we use some EA, of course. But, in the luxury market, the personalization, the conversation, the human, it's a must. And this is a luxury for me. So that's why it won't change anything for the recruiter. The recruiter still needs to talk to the candidate, needs to talk to the client. But maybe the EA will assist, to make a better selection, a better feedback, this kind of thing. But I think for the next 10 or 20 years, we are protected.
Interesting. Yes, I guess it's going to make them more productive and do more work
Yes,
because they're using these tools, just like the PA.
exactly.
Interesting. Okay, good stuff. Right then, is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't, Morgan, regarding the pay, the locations, and all
Well,
of
I
this?
think your question was really good, to be honest. I am happy to make this podcast, and I hope we are going to be so many podcasts, because I think it's very important for the communication for the client, but even for the candidate to explain the industry, the new trend as well. So this is a really good thing. I really want to, and I expect, to get some comments from the candidate, from the client. If they have any question, I'm so happy, to communicate and with everyone. It's very important for me.
Super, super. Excellent. Okay, that's everything from us today. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Morgan.
brother.
And if the listeners, if you are thinking about hiring a butler, a chauffeur, then go to householdstaff.agency, get in contact with the Morgan and Mallet recruiter. We usually get back to you within 24 hours. And even if you're uncertain or just thinking, or you just have some questions, still get in contact. Our recruiters are very helpful and very knowledgeable experts, and they can help you out. And for the listeners, don't forget to subscribe. We're on Spotify, iTunes, on YouTube. So press that subscribe button, and we'll be releasing a lot more of these podcasts going forward, as Morgan said. So thank you for listening, and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.